Hey, thanks for coming back to the show. Appreciate it very much. You may not have seen me a bit over the last couple of weeks. I had to take a day off, actually, a couple of weeks off. I don't know about you on how it's going out there with the coronavirus and the news and all the information that's been swirling around, but I had to take me a couple of days back, a couple of weeks back, actually. Haven't had a show in a couple of weeks, been playing a couple reruns. Had to regroup. Really don't want to keep bringing on the bad news about COVID or about anything else. I'm really tired of the bad news. I got to tell you. Having a hard time finding anything good to talk about out there. I hate to say that. And I don't think it does any good to keep bashing on everything. So today we're going to do a little bit of recap, maybe a little on COVID, and go on to some better news. How about that? I do want to say this, and I really hope it's come to you if you've seen it. But what the news media, when you read the news media, just take a good hard look at it or listen to it. And I repeat this a lot, but it just hits me as if I'm seeing an elephant walking across the room. The language that is being used by the media when they're talking about different things is really, really outrageous to me. You as a writer, I'm a writer, you can choose your words. For example, there was, I may have mentioned this on a previous show, there was some event that was being done by President Trump at the White House or something like that, and the people were spaced away from each other in their chairs. But the writer, they showed a picture to made it look like everybody was squished together. There was another picture that showed they weren't, but there was a picture that made it look like they were squished together. And then the writer was talking about the fact that the attendees were cheek to jowl, meaning squished in there. You got to look for those modifiers, those adjectives. Another one recently came up where they were talking about being packed in a place. When you think of being packed in a space, this is actually for another, come to think of it, another Trump rally. I don't read all the Trump news. It's just when I scan through the news, the media seems to like to put out the fact that anything Trump is doing, everyone is packed together. And the image didn't show they were packed together. So I think that your choice of words in the media is important. It's part of telling the truth or not. Another unfortunate example that I've seen over the last few weeks, of course, you've probably heard about the gentleman that the kid, 17-year-old kid that was up in Wisconsin, and he killed two people and injured another with a rifle that he had. He was being chased. He tripped. He shot. Unfortunately, now again, this is nonpartisan as I can make this show. I just see what I see and I try to point it out. In this case, you have this guy running, falling, shooting. Highly suspect that because he was running and you're trying to defend yourself, one person was trying to hit him with a skateboard. The other one was looking to disarm him, and then the gun would be in the other person's hand. So anyway, I don't know how this is all going to go out. What I do know is in the end, I think he's going to be not convicted. I think it's going to be self-defense. It is what it is. There's laws. Now, if we don't like the laws, we can change the laws. But here's the thing about the media that disturbed me on that case, and then one other case, is this guy, this kid, the 17-year-old, was immediately vilified in the press as a right-wing, crazy lunatic out killing people, basically. A Trump person trying to kill people. Now, this is a kid who earlier in the day, I believe, was out scrubbing walls, trying to get graffiti off of walls at a local school, I believe it was, or YMCA, something like that. So this is, people have lives. The media is quick to label them right-wing, crazy, militia. Now, whether or not it was wise to take a gun and walk around and do what he was doing, I never would be doing that. I will tell you that, unless I'm protecting my home and my family directly. Wouldn't be traveling somewhere to do that, to carry a gun, because if people have guns, very likely someone's going to get shot. Now, but my point is, the media just went after him, did not go after more of the situation. There was another gentleman who got shot who had a gun on him. So it didn't seem very balanced to me. Now, all right, we'll just take that one and we'll just hold it at bay. Now, we have, just for the record, we have people burning down buildings in Wisconsin at that time, burning buildings down, people's livelihoods. So I don't know why we don't have stories about those arrested for that kind of stuff and headlined as much as we have the fact that this guy obviously killed people, which is very bad. Again, I just think this is very unbalanced media that I've been able to find. And I read, just so you know, I read the Wall Street Journal and I read the New York Times as my mainstays, because I want to know what the main drift of what is going on, what people are reading, so I understand what people are reading. Now, go to Portland, where the gentleman was killed by the other guy. Don't even remember the names, don't care. So you got the guy that was there as a Trump supporter, again, a Trump situation, Trump supporter, a conservative, was there, was down in Portland. They were basically, the conservatives were going there and giving a hard time to the liberal side and all that. Now, the guy that shot him has declared he's 100% Antifa, anti-fascist. This group, this Antifa loose group that is willing pretty much to do anything to get rid of any kind of government there is. Doesn't mean that if Joe Biden gets elected, Antifa is happy. Antifa is anti anyone in charge. So this guy has, quote unquote, been security for the Black Lives Matter protests that have been continuously going on in Portland for 100 or more days, with a massive amount of destruction. I am number one person that if you want to go out and protest, and let's just call it Gandhi style, I go back to Mahatma Gandhi, the way he did with his nonviolent protests that ended up freeing India. This is the type of, if you're going to protest, that is all day long, do that. Have a sit-in even. Do whatever you want, but don't be burning down buildings and spray painting and doing all the stuff that's going on. That causes harm to others and is not acceptable at all. You want to protest, you don't like what's going on, 100% okay, go out and do something about it, but we're talking peaceful. So anyway, we had the guy who was being the security for Black Lives Matter, hiding out in a garage, waiting. They have footage. I don't know if you've seen it, but there is actual surveillance cameras showing this guy waiting for the victim to walk down the street. He emerged, walked over to him, and shot him and killed him and ran and dodged the authorities. Later, the authorities went to get him. Based on witnesses that were there, he opened up with a semi-automatic pistol, and the police shot back and killed him. All right. Now, the problem I have with that situation is the victim was hammered in the press. Right wing. Now, this guy's dead, everybody. Right wing. He's this guy, all about the right wing and what they were doing, and before they were out in their truck and they're doing all this stuff. And wait a second, why aren't we talking much more about, in fact, many stories, many newspapers, I looked around, did not talk about the shooter as being Antifa. And if they did mention it, they didn't mention what Antifa was. It's just a left group, or Antifa. It's not they called the victims group the far right group. Far right, right? Because makes you think you're going to be having a Ku Klux Klan member in there. He's so far right that this guy was, he was out there with the skinheads. No, he wasn't, but that's what they're trying to show you. Now, when they're not talking about Antifa, they should be talking about extreme far left on Antifa. They don't do that. I have followed these stories just because they disturb me, especially when you have people dying. So I've finally come to my conclusion on this a bit. It is amazing to me. I have friends that are on the left. I actually had a friend announce that anyone that she knew that was supporting Donald Trump was a supporter, out there supporting him. She would defriend them and not associate with them, actually remove them from her circle of friends. All right. Then you got those on the right that I know that anyone who thinks that anything to do with more of a liberal point of view is outrageous, un-American, communistic, and just extremely bad. So obviously we have separated this in extremes. Now, has President Trump caused it, or is he utilizing it? You decide. I think the separation and the extremism was coming on in the 2016 election, and he utilized it, and probably one of the reasons he got elected. So the other thing, so what I realized though is people now have feeds. You can go on Yahoo, you can go on Apple News, you can go on different places, and you can click the kind of news that you want. And these algorithms figure out what is the kind of news that you want. What is the news that this guy wants here? So once they see what, kind of like Netflix, once I've watched a few things on Netflix, then I get to see the same darn thing that I like, and I click on it again, and that old algorithm's back there going, oh, we got this guy figured out now. Well, that's kind of what they're doing with the news feeds here, is they go, oh, he likes this kind of show. He likes this kind of news. So we keep feeding it to him. So you have the people on the left who absolutely stay in their little barn, and that's all they read about is the left. And I'll tell you, when you read the stuff on the left, the Donald Trump, if there is a number one villain, it's kind of like the Batman series, the Joker or the Penguin, any of those guys, the biggest and baddest villain. Now, you got to make a movie. When you're going to go to Hollywood and make a good movie about action, adventure, these comic book movies, you really got to have a good villain. You got to have a great villain to have a good contest. You got to have something that Batman is going after, or Superman. He's got to have some real, that guy, he can do in part way through the movie, you're going, I don't know how Superman's going to be able to defeat him, or how's Batman going to get out of this, Mabel? It just gets me worried. I think Batman's going down here. Look what he's doing, Mabel. So that's what you need in the Hollywood now. That stuff sells. You got to have yourself a good darn villain. All right. Well, let's just understand that Donald Trump has been, designed since the day he got elected as a good darn villain. I got to tell you, I am not the biggest Trump supporter in the world at all. There's definitely, I don't like some of the stuff that goes on, and I don't like some of the stuff that goes on the left. And I'm trying to be as nonpartisan as possible, but I've seen it. When I was out on the road in 2016, I watched Trump rallies, and then I would go back to my RV called Nelson, and I would watch it on TV, and the media picked out one or two little tiny things that made him look ridiculous, that while you were there, it made sense. It wasn't ridiculous. So I'm just saying that the left has absolutely figured out an amazing villain. When you read the newspapers, read the New York Times for a while, oh my gosh, anything that comes up that they can slime or slant, and the language they use is, well, one source. I mean, we got to remember, a lot of these sources, there's one or two people that saying these things. So you got this source, you got an unnamed former government official, it's just like, oh my gosh, we can do, if you want to go get those kind of sources, you can do all that along about anybody. I can find, I guarantee you Batman has his detractors, and so does Superman. I mean, if you want to say that, well, that Superman, he went out without a mask on, and he when he stopped that guy, he ran right into the building and destroyed the building. So now what are we supposed to do? You can do that all day long. All right, so that's number one on the left. So they got a good villain. They're riling up their base, people. You got to understand what's going on. The elections are all about getting people to actually vote, because half the people who can vote don't. Imagine if everybody voted. Oh, my gosh. This is where people who are in the election world just drool. If we could just get more people out voting. So what you want to do is you want to motivate the heck out of people to get to the polls. You want to make it so that they can get to the polls. So a lot of times in the past, you get buses out there and taking people to the polls. But what you want is you want situations so bad that the people who are voters actually go vote. All right, so that the left is playing their side of this game. They're trying to go, all right, we got to get everybody out there to vote. And this Donald Trump is the worst thing that's ever occurred. And this coronavirus thing is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the whole world ever. And Donald Trump's responsible for the whole darn thing. He is responsible. In fact, he's the guy that went to China and pulled it out of the bat while he grabbed it out of thin air, grabbed that coronavirus and put it in someone else's mouth and made them go out to that market in China and get everybody all infected. I mean, it's like he is coronavirus devil. That's who Donald Trump is. All right, now on the right, we got the right who's got to play their game too. The right is basically saying, well, look what's going to happen if you elect those guys. They're burning down all the cities, people. So they've got to have their villains on this side too. They've got to be saying, look, well, and just the other day you had in LA, you had someone walk right up to a couple of sheriff deputies here. I'm broadcasting from LA right now. A couple of deputies, someone just walked right up and started shooting at them in their car, ran away. Does that have to do with the fact that, hey, we're kind of getting away with whatever we want in some of these cities? No one's really talking about us. It's not being too enforced anything. And, well, screw that. I'm going to go kill me some cops. All right. So the right is saying, look what's going over there on the left. You get the left elected. This is going to be the worst thing that's ever occurred in the whole world. Now, look at the messaging. Just so you know, I get emails from both sides. When I was out on the road in 2016, I signed up because I went to all the different, went to Hillary Clinton's rally and Trump's rally and Ted Cruz and all sorts of people. So on the left and the right. So I get emails from the left and I get them from the right, and everybody's saying the same thing. This is the most important election in the history of mankind right here. And on the left, they're saying why, and on the right, they're saying why. Okay. You just have to understand that is the game that's being played. It's part of the game. The left is using everything in their power to get rid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump and the right are doing everything that they can in their power to make sure that the left doesn't win. It's the way the game is played. Now, the coronavirus gets involved. Absolutely, the left's idea is that Donald Trump destroyed the country and murdered and killed thousands of people as the commander-in-chief with this coronavirus and the way he's handled it. They're convinced, and they're pushing that narrative. Now, there's an article that came out the other day in the paper. Here's a telltale sign, folks. It is known throughout history, I've talked about it before, that if the economy is doing well, then usually the incumbent, whoever it is, Democrat or Republican, wins for the presidency, usually, or the party that's in power wins. So if the economy is doing well, you get a second term, usually. That's usually pretty much. It's kind of like known. And Donald Trump was well on his way to doing that, and then the coronavirus hit, and here we are. Now, this interesting thing is that the economy is coming back. Of course, Trump is doing everything he can to get it back. does anyone blame the man? Because look, if you know that if the economy's doing well, you're probably going to get elected, you're going to try and do everything you can to get the economy doing well. And likewise, we have to understand that on the left, if you're on the left, this is what you would rightly do. And if the roles were reversed and the Democrats were in power, the Democrats would be doing the same darn thing. I guarantee you can't tell me that if you're a Democrat and the president's in there, he'd keep the entire country shut down through November and have the economy tank. There is no way the Democrat president would be out there making sure the economy is doing well. It just is what it is. So we have this situation where we have it. But this article was interesting. It reframed the situation. It actually was a very nicely strategically placed article written by somebody that said, look, in this case, it's not the economy, because the economy is coming back. If you look on that, by the way, the one shot on Wall Street Journal, you remember me telling you about that? It has all the graphs. Wall Street Journal kicked them out. I don't know. They weren't. I don't know if the Wall Street Journal thought that maybe they thought they're paying them too much. I don't know, but I subscribe to these guys. If you go out and Google, I think Wall Street Journal one shot, I think you'll go to their website and you can subscribe. It's amazing information. It just gives you the graphs of what's going on up there. So anyway, the graphs are coming back. The actual economy is swinging back pretty well. No, we're not back to where we were at all, but it's swinging back pretty darn good. So we have that situation, right? And so this article comes out because it sees the economy coming back. And it's saying, in this case, in this time, it's not really the economy which is going to tell the tale of who's going to get elected president, but it's going to be the handling of the coronavirus. All right. They're trying to reset that gauge. Fascinating, huh? I mean, you just got to stand back and look at this stuff and go, oh, I get it. You're trying to reset it. Forget about the economy, everybody. It's all about the coronavirus. And maybe it is. In the end, maybe Donald Trump will just get trounced. Maybe there'll be, people around the country will just go, you know what? We're done. We want someone else. I don't know. And neither do you, by the way. I tell you, in 2016, I was one of those people. There's no way that Hillary Clinton's not going to win. I got to tell you, I wasn't a fan of Hillary Clinton. Didn't want her to win. There's no way that Hillary Clinton's not going to win, and she didn't win. So pollsters. I tell you, and now we do have more earlier voting because of the mail-in. So it's a little different now, but you can still have things happen pretty close to the election that changes it. Jeez. Okay. So there's, anybody around you that says that coronavirus isn't going to get better till after the election? It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Till after the election. Yep. Why are we going to lighten up on the economy? I'm in California, LA. I got to tell you, I forget that the rest of the country is mostly a lot back to normal. We are not back to normal in California. They just opened up so hairdressers can do hairdressing. And I got my hair dressed. It's still kind of messed up. It has to grow in a little bit. But it's talking to my guy. I've been going to him for over 20 years, 25 more years. Great guy. They have 20%, I think it's 20 to 25% capacity in hairdressers. 20 to 25%. There's absolutely no way that you can get that done. You cannot make. I mean, the margins are maybe 5 or 8%, and you have 20 to 25% capacity. So Gavin Newsom, I believe, this is you have to think with what's behind the thought. Gavin Newsom is convinced that he needs to destroy small businesses. That's the only way I can go with it. He's convinced he has to destroy them for the sake of people not dying, I guess. But in California, we are locked down pretty hard. You cannot eat inside in a restaurant. It has to be outside. And our cases are dropping all across the country in a lot of cases. I think we have now about 38 states that are showing declining or low COVID numbers. on the New York Times COVID watch. And the death rate never, ever got back to where it was in the beginning. We have to understand something here. In the beginning, they were giving them Tylenol and fluids. Come on in. Oh, you got this new virus and it looks like you're dying? Well, we're going to give you Tylenol and some fluids, and we're going to stick an incubator down your throat when you can't breathe. And likelihood is, we've learned, you're probably not going to wake up from that. So the response in the beginning was outrageous that they were doing these, actually nothing, just trying to comfort the victim, the person who was sick. And then as they went along and learned, now I have 3 shows about the Math Plus protocol. I highly recommend you go to seanburke.net and take a look at those. They're on video. These doctors figured out the way to crack the code. Very simple stuff: anti-inflammatories, anticoagulants, vitamin C and vitamin thiamine B, I guess. And they reduced deaths down to virtually nothing. So how we were handling deaths in the beginning. But the way we handled deaths in the beginning scared people dying left and right. And we had the refrigerator trucks in New York. That picture, I'll never forget that picture in the headline: refrigerator morgue trucks. We have so many people dying, we've got to put them in refrigerator trucks. Now, first of all, that's happened before. It's not like that's never happened before. Tents being set up for triage, that's happened before, but man, was it made a big deal with COVID and people dying left and right because they weren't doing anything to help them. So as we've seen the caseload ramp way up across the country over the last couple of months, it's way down now, but I think, what was it, July, we had some ramp up. The death rate never came close to what it was in the beginning. They've figured out, we know that steroids help. We know there's recidivir or whatever. There's different things that actually help and has been proven statistically. Science, period. And so the death rate is lower. All right. Probably took way too much time. Where we at? So we took away a lot of time on that. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that's what's going on with the election. So when you look at, here's my advice, and I hope you take I got 2 advices. Number 1, I've said it before. If you get to a point where this is too much, I've had other people tell me, oh yeah, it's too much. I've had people check in with me. Where you been? What's going on? You all right? And I tell them what's going on. They, one person answered me, yeah, me too. I had to take a break as well. If you need to take a break, it's getting too much, things are looking too gloomy. First of all, understand that the news is reporting that 1 grain of sand on that giant beach that you can see for miles. They're reporting on the 1 grain of sand that got a little bird poop on it. By the way, everybody, look at the sand, it's got bird poop on it. Okay, it's just 1 grain out of 10 trillion. That's what they're reporting on, honest to God. There's a ton of other stuff going on that's all fine and all good. So that's number 1. I got 3 advices. Number 1, just know that. Know that you're just seeing a electron microscope look at the world. That is what the news is, and maybe you like it. You like dramas. You like watching Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff. So you just turn on the news. It's usually free. Maybe you have cable, but that's just drama as well. So just know that that's what it is, all right? And watch those words that they use. Number 2, if you get a little overdone, take a break. Take a stop. A challenge. It is a challenge. I would actually go on. I feel like we should have a website that does this. We get a survey of a person at the beginning, after they just watch news every day. They watch the TV news. They just read the news. They're just news people. They like news, like a lot of people. And so then we give them a survey of how they feeling. Do you want to jump off a bridge? I mean, do you drink too much? All this stuff. And then we just do a little, actual post videos on the internet with this. Take 2 weeks off, maybe 2 to 3 weeks off. No news. No going on Facebook and seeing what these people are saying that's just riling you up. No news on CNN and New York Times and Wall Street Journal and Fox. None. No TV news. None. No radio news. None. Maybe you can listen to me because hopefully I'm not that bad. but maybe not. Maybe you need to not listen to me too. No news for 2 to 3 weeks. And I'll tell you what, you go through withdrawal symptoms for the first 5 days, folks. I've done this. You start freaking out a little bit because you just do. And then you start feeling much, much better. And you find out after about 2 weeks, you actually think that things are all right. And you look around, things are not so bad. And you feel pretty good about the future. All right, that's number 2. I hope I remember number 3. What's number 3 about this? Number 3 is, I think this is what I was going to tell you. Just understand what the game is being played with the politics. Just know, I know what it was. I want everybody who, if you're a listener and you are on the left, I want you to start reading the Wall Street Journal or something on the right. Also, read all the stuff you want to on the left. But I challenge you to go to Fox News and read their stuff, or the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is not as conservative. It's a little conservative. Fox is certainly conservative. Go to Fox News. When you read CNN, go to Fox News and find the same story and just see the different words. My point is, and also on the right, if you're on the right, you have got to read a bit of New York Times or Wall Street Journal or something. You just do, or not Wall Street Journal, New York Times or CNN, something like that. You have to. Just do it. Find the same stories and look for yourself, because I got to tell you, if you're 100% over on the right or you're 100% over on the left, you're 100% wrong. It isn't black and white, folks. There is a lot of gray in here in between. There's things over on the left that are okay, and there's things over here on the right that are okay. Not all mutually exclusive, all right? Just trying to make sure that you understand that. All right. Never introduced myself. This is Sean at the beginning of the show. This is Sean Burke on the Sean Burke Show. WSMN 1590 AM is where this is broadcast, as well as 97.3 FM. Woo, almost got it wrong. 97.3 FM also out of Nashua, New Hampshire. Both AM and FM, pretty cool. They got the new FM going out there. Let's see what else. You can go to my past shows at SeanBurke.net, www.seanburke.net. All my shows there. Probably have almost 200 now. I don't know how many we got. It's also put out there in iTunes and SoundCloud and whatnot, and YouTube. The reason I'm videoing this is because I started video and I figured we should document this crazy time. You can see what's happening to my hair as I keep going along. I'm still alive here in my little studio in Los Angeles, California. Let's see what else. You can email me at heysean@seanburke.net. If that gets you excited, I would love to have you email me. I really enjoy it when people write and tell me their thoughts. I get all sorts of links. Happy to have you communicate. Okay, this is what we're going to do from now on today. We're going to talk about some good news. Good news is out there, folks. I do want you to understand that, and let's talk a little bit about it. Number 1, I'm going to try and skip some of the bad news. Like I tell you, it's not easy finding good news out there. But here's testing. Did you hear about the $5 test? I've always said this, I still believe it. We figure out a solution to the problem of those few people who really get ripped up by the coronavirus and have to go to the hospital, and then they have lung troubles and whatnot. If we come up with a solution to them, and so they don't die, which we have, go to the Math Plus, just Google Math Plus protocol, go to seanburke.net, it's on there. Anyway, the Math Plus protocol does that. I've reported on it. So we have much, and we, even without hospitals using the full Math Plus protocol, I think more and more are using steroids, which has been proven to reduce deaths by at least a third. We have much less death. We understand how to use it. It's not so scary anymore. Okay, so you got that, right? We don't have the meat trucks outside putting bodies in. So we're waiting. In fact, a lot of ICUs hardly have anybody in them or nobody in them. So it's much better. Number 1. I've always said that. If we get that, we're in good shape. But you also need a testing component, because I believe if you can test quickly, like right today, if you could test a bunch of people, test them, and then send them into an event. I mean, if they pass, send them into an event. And if you want to test them on the way out, test them on the way out just to be sure, something like that. But the odds are, if you test, there's a test out that is a $5 test that the government is spending $750 or $800 million to get these little tests that you have to go to a practitioner to get them. But they're turned around like 5 minutes. They're 97% accurate. That's pretty dang good. So if we can get those tests out of the practitioner's office into a little strip like those pregnancy tests, so that I can go to an event and I spit or I do something, I don't really want someone sticking thing up my nose, but if I have to, I probably would for a while. I won't do that forever, but for a while. And then I can go into the event, or I can go into the basketball game, or I can do something like that. If we could have testing cheap, fast, accurate, easy, we just go back to normal, right? Okay, we do have the tests come along. So that's good news. We have some pretty serious amount of tests out there coming along. And know that this is the biggest thing that's ever hit the world, at least in the modern time, with lots of money out there. So there are companies running as fast as they can to get those tests. Okay, the other thing we want to do and talk about is the U.S. government. I like this one a lot. The U.S. government has they're going to reduce the number of troops. Now, you may not think this is right, but you can email me. The problem is when you think of something good on the right, and I don't mean right like conservative. I guess you look at something good over here, it's going to have something bad over here. You look at something good, and I'm not saying right and left. It's hard to talk like that anymore. Everybody gets all freaked out. Kind of like wildfires. Talking to my wife this morning about wildfires. You got wildfires. Well, it's good for some people. Well, who's it good for? Well, it's good for fire. If you're a fire person, you're going out to. I'm not saying you want to go do fire prevention, but that's what your job is. Or let's say there's people are sick, doctors are employed. So I'm just saying that. Anyway, I think you understand what I mean. So here's the good news. Is the U.S. Is planning to reduce the military presence in Iraq in the month of this month, a little less than half. They're trying to reduce the number of military there. Now, you tell me, is that good? Is that bad? I kind of think that's good. I kind of like that. Let's bring our guys home. Let's get the heck out of there. You know how long we've been there? I think it's been, what are we at, 13 years or something like that in Iraq? 13 years. No, actually, it's been 13 years since we reached the peak in Iraq with 170,000 service people deployed there in 2007, guys. That was just when it was actually, what are we at? So that we went into Iraq shortly after, let's see, where was this? 9/11, right? So we're talking, I don't know, I should know this, almost 20 years we've been over there. Okay, so we're whittling down. I like it. We're getting out of there. Let's get the heck out of there. Here's a kind of a cool story. There is a guy, smart guy, I think he was out of Stanford, who came up with a better, how about that? Say that fast. Better battery. Came up with a better battery for cars. Now, I don't know if you're a believer in the electric car world or not, but I am. I can't wait to get me some kind of electric car. I'm waiting for all these different cars to come out. Well, this guy came up with a solid state battery. And that means a couple of things. Number one, it's not as dangerous as those, what are they? The ones we have now, that you get all over the place, and you find sometimes they cause fires, and they're in nickel something. Let me see what the lithium-ion batteries. Sorry about that. They have liquid in them, and they have caused fires, and there is a little danger to them. And they also use really rare metals and whatnot. Well, the interesting thing is this guy came up with a solid state one. The other problem with the lithium-ion is how long they take to charge. The beauty of this battery is this battery can charge from 0 charge to 80% charged in just 15 minutes. All right, how about that? The other one takes about 12 hours to go that far. So, All right, that's a better battery. And this guy has already, the company's already valued at over $3 billion. It's going to go public, I think, in November. A number of big players. Bill Gates has gotten his toe in there, putting money in, and others have as well. And Volkswagen jumped on it, and they have invested heavily. They're going to use it in their electric cars in a hope to try and have an advantage over Tesla, who is Tesla is one of the most valuable darn companies in the world. I don't know how that's even possible, but it is. So there you go. New kind of battery coming out. And I like that for good news too. Let's see. Did you hear about Amazon? I don't know if this is good news. Maybe if you like luxury brands, it's good news. Amazon is coming out with a new concept to sell luxury items online on Amazon. So you have a luxury store via Amazon. You have to be invited to it. You have to get an invitation. So this is gorgeous because what you do with luxury items now, who is this? What is this first one that they're doing here? It's let's see. Valentino. No, they were working with Valentino before, but this new one, what is this new one here? Oscar de la Renta is doing it. So you have to get an invitation and be invited to actually, and you can get on a wait list. But here's the beauty with these high-end brands is it's exclusive, right? So how do you create the exclusive feeling for your brand? Well, if you're going online, because everyone can just do it. No, you can't. You have to have an invitation. I'm sorry, you have to be invited to the Amazon Oscar de la Renta page in order for you to buy our very expensive goods. I'm not a huge, you might be a big fashion fan. I'm not. I find that you can spend a heck of a lot of dough for something that really is, you're paying for the brand and the supposed coolness of the situation. Yeah, it doesn't get me excited. But Amazon also has started up in Los Angeles a grocery store that is cashierless. So you've heard about the store in Washington, I think, and there might be another one, Amazon Go, I think it is, where you walk in and it has cameras and it knows what you buy and you just walk out. There's a grocery store now coming to LA being put in that has the same technology. They are, and by the way, has the value of Amazon stock gone up during COVID or what? I think it's up, wow, 80, 60, 70%. I don't know how that's possible for a company that's so darn valuable. Let's not get into that because we got Apple, we got Amazon, we got Tesla, we got some of these companies just outrageously valued during COVID. I don't understand why Apple zoomed up there. Because COVID, I don't quite understand that. Things I don't understand, but here's what you do have to understand is what goes up comes down at some point to some degree. There is some seriously overinflated numbers in the stock market. So who knows what's going to happen with that? All right, let's see what else we should talk about. That's about all the good news. Oh, let me actually see what else we got. Let me see some other good news. I bet you I can find some other good news. I found a new source, and I'm going to tell you what my source is here at the end. And I've been told about this source by others, but you know, when you hear about good news, you go, well, let's go find some good news. Yeah, that's kind of wussy or not very tough. Or they're going to talk about bunnies or something, or kittens. You know, and I guarantee you, one of my friends sent me this link long ago and said, hey, you should check out this site. And I thought, oh, it's going to be just too vanilla. It's just not going to be so good. Well, here's a good one. And you know, I felt better after that. I had to actually go look for some good news. So I felt a little bit better after I went here. Here's a survey. You know, you always hear about these surveys that, well, in fact, I saw one of Fauci. Something about Fauci saying, you know, there's a study out that says 30% of all people infected by COVID don't have any symptoms at all or something like that. And, that's just scarier than heck because you think, oh my gosh, anybody can have it. It's kind of like anybody can be the zombie. The zombie apocalypse is here. You don't know who the zombie is. He can look just like, that's what so many TV shows, movies are about. He looks just like your neighbor, but he's not your neighbor. In this case, well, he could have COVID. You'll never know. 30% of the people you look at could have, 30% get COVID and you don't even know. All right. So, surveys. See, we got into bad news. See how easy it is to go into bad news right there? All right, we got to have a drink here. So easy to go into bad news. All right, here's a survey for you. 2/3 of Americans, 2,000 people were surveyed over 21, came to the conclusion, this is pretty good. I know you're waiting for it. They felt that the quarantine, the pandemic, has made them a better person. How about that? 2/3 per this survey, age over 21, felt that the pandemic has made them a better person. Has it made you a better person? I got to tell you, I see a lot of surveys and I think, I'm not so sure that's true. I got to think this is true. I'd love for you to write me and tell me. Do you think it's true? Hey, Sean at SeanBurke.net. Did it make you a better person? Did it make me a better person? I think it did. I think I certainly have more tendency to want to talk to anyone. I've always been that way, but even more. And also, I have a huge desire to help small businesses survive. We need them. So, yeah, I think it made me. Now, is it something I'm happy to have happen? No, but did it make me a better person? I think so. It gave me a little different perspective on things. Made me kind of realize a few things that might have been I didn't realize were as important as they are. Certainly for me, I can tell you I haven't traveled as much at all. So I used to travel a lot, and I would move around different places, and I haven't traveled. And it's just been me and my wife mainly sheltering down and doing our thing, running my business from home. And that's been amazing that we've had this much time together. It's been really fantastic, I got to tell you. So I've seen some really positive changes for me. I study. I try to enhance myself during this time. I try to learn new things, keeping my business going, reaching out, trying to stay connected to friends. In the middle of a startup, new company, working on that. Got another one that I'm looking at. So I'm trying to see how to thrive in the future, not letting this thing take me down. Anyway, that's me. What about you? How you doing? Well, I like to hear that this survey is saying that 2/3 of Americans feel like they're better people. Okay, so we got that. Let's see what other good news I can give you out there. I will say that when you go look for good news, it's pretty easy to find stuff that's a little bit like, there's one here. It says the cancer survivor that became the first woman to complete a grueling triathlon covering 330 miles in 5 days. That is a really good feel-good story. I love that cancer survivor, this woman, did that. But it kind of is what typically, if you're against good news, you go, yeah, that's good news. It's just all feel good. But there's actually other good news. Here's an interesting piece of news that I think is fascinating. And again, we're just going after good news here, folks. McDonald's has come up with a reusable coffee cup. You return it, you reuse it. You reuse it. Now, there's some crazy statistic. There's like 600 billion to-go containers produced each year around the world. 600 billion, to-go cups, to-go little cartons, 600 billion. Okay, so McDonald's has decided they're trying it now. There's other companies doing this, but here's your coffee cup. And it's kind of like the recyclable bottles. You pay a nickel or a dime. They're going to do the same thing. So people can bring them back and get money and bring them back, and they'll get, actually, they're not even recyclable. They're actually reusable. they go through a process, they get cleaned up, and they go back and they get used again. So how about that? That's some good news. Everybody just stand up and applaud for that. That is good news. We are here today looking at good news is what we're doing. That's all I'm interested in. And it is trying to find us some doggone good news out there in the world. All right, what else we got? We're going to have something else. Yeah, let's see. See, it's not easy to find good news. I'm looking down this thing. Oh my gosh. There's an interesting story. We got the California highway became the first state road made from all recycled plastics in the U.S. How about that? Here's another good one. Sharp reduction in lung cancer death rates due to new treatments. And I tell you, there's the one I definitely wanted to talk to you about. This place, I like this site now. I'm starting to like it. I'm going to go to it and see what stories I like as I go. But there's a story about the fact that Italy has tremendously recovered from what's going on with the coronavirus. Remember that Italy was just buried and we were all watching Italy just go crazy. Well, Italy now is mostly back to normal. It is mostly doing its thing. It definitely has tourism again. People do wear masks and they're using hand sanitizer. They're down to about 10 deaths per day. Let's just listen to that again. This is a frustration part for me because I don't understand why the media doesn't talk about this. Italy is down. I even checked it on another site because I didn't believe this. Italy is down to about 10 deaths per day in a country of 60 million people. And they're out roaming around and doing their thing. How come the media doesn't talk about that? After we talked about how horrible it went for them, how come we're not talking about the fact of that? Okay. So there you go. Did you get through it with me? Did we feel a little bit better? We do have some good people we're going to interview coming up here, and we're going to keep going. We're going to try to bring you some good news. We're trying to bring you some interesting news, try to give you something worth your time listening. I do appreciate you listening. This is Sean Burke. This is the Sean Burke Show. Again, go to seanburke.net. You can subscribe there, and this show drops into your email box. You can also email me at heysean@seanburke.net, and you can find this out on iTunes and whatnot. We are broadcasting first on WSMN 1590 and 97.3 FM. That's the story for us. I appreciate you listening. Coming to you from LA. I'll probably be here next week. We're just doing the same old. And the thing that you got to do is stay in touch with your friends. See if there's anybody around you on your block, your neighbors that need any help. See if you can help them. We got to keep ourselves going. We are going to get through this. Things are coming back. My business, by the way, is starting to pick up. And again, we're in the event industry. We're in the trade show industry. So we're having more and more work, not near what we used to be, but it's coming back. We are going to get back there, folks. Didn't even talk about the vaccine. How about that? Didn't even dip my toe into the vaccine discussion. Got a lot I could say about that. But until the next time, I appreciate you coming along with me, and be good. Bye-bye.